Good morning and welcome to Powerlifting America Scary Strong 2, brought from you from Titan Barbell Gym in Stoneham, Massachusetts. We've got 26 lifters for you this morning in a one-session meet. We're going to have 13 lifters in our first flight, 13 in our second. We'll be kicking off with squat just in a moment here. So first up, we're going to have Cheryl. Cheryl's competing in the 76 kilo weight class, and we'll be opening up with a 100 kilo squat, so around 220 pounds.
Athletes, we will be starting in 1 minute. Super scary strong will be starting in 1 minute. Welcome to Super Scary Strong. We will now be starting with Cheryl Matola at 100 kilos. Up.
Cheryl getting ready to come out here. Bar is loaded for her, so she'll have two commands to obey: the start and the rack. Three referees here. And that looks like a great squat from Cheryl. We'll see what the referees think. Yep, three white lights. Plenty deep. So what the referees will be looking for here is that the top surface of the hip joint goes below the top of the knee. And that'll be a squat that's judged sufficiently deep. Now we've got Renee coming up for 102.5. So around 225 pounds here, sort of your typical two-plate gym squat if you're lifting on pounds. Likely a weight that Renee has hit many times before in training. And again, that looks like a comfortable squat there. Michelle up next for the same weight. Renee looking pretty happy about that opener. Plenty of room to continue moving up. Very comfortable squat. A high bar position there with the barbell high up Michelle's back. Successful. Next up, we'll have Alexis with an 110 kilo opener, or 242 pounds. The squat opener, it's the first lift of the day out of 9 attempts for these lifters who will have been training for many weeks or months in preparation for this competition. And it's one of those lifts that you want to make sure you're picking a weight that's so comfortable that you can hit it without any real nervousness or anxiety, get your first lift made of the day, and sort of progress on with the competition. Looking good, another comfortable squat there. Next up, we'll have Christy with the same weight. Getting wedged under the barbell there. Really deep first squat. And a good lift for Christy. Next up we've got Astrid with 112.5 kilos. Referee still seeing good lifts here, which has been great to see. We want to make sure that all these lifters get in these first attempts so that they know that they're on the board. They've got one of their lifts moving towards earning them a total. A total will be the best of your squat, bench, and deadlift attempts. You need a successful attempt in each of those disciplines, squat, bench, and deadlift. Added together, those best lifts will become your total. Next, we're going to have Leslie moving up the bar to 115 kilos here. A nice comfortable opener for Leslie there. Just waiting on some lights. And 3 white lights for Leslie. Wasn't too concerned about that one being a good lift. Next we're going to have Charles, who's taking an 125 kilo opener, 275 pounds or thereabouts. Incredibly deep squat there, grinding that up. Waits for the rack command and gets 3 white lights. Next we're going to have Jessica come up for 132.5 kilos. My pound conversion starts to get a little weaker here, but I think that's around 292 pounds or thereabouts. Apologies if my attempts at being a human calculator are getting a little suspect at this point. Jessica looking confident coming up to the bar. Seeking and fighting to find depth there. There's a smile at the top. I think she knows she has it. Let's see what the referees think. Yep, 3 white lights. Let's have another look at that. Really fights to get down there right into depth. Very economical with depth, but that's exactly what she needs to do. Uses a minimum range of motion in order to secure the lift. Very successfully done. Next up we have Kashla, just going 2.5 kilos heavier for a 135 kilo attempt. Again, Kashla taking a fairly high bar position with very narrow hand width as well. Lots of shoulder mobility being executed there. Kashla gets 2 red lights, unfortunately, so that won't be a successful lift. She does need to get at least 2 white lights for a successful lift. Looks like one of the referees there gave her a red card on that red light, indicating depth. So if she sinks that a little lower, she should be fine, coming back on her on another attempt, she'll have the option to take the same weight or go a little heavier. Here we have Teresa with 185 kilos, so starting off with our opener already in the 400-pound range for Teresa. Getting into that range very early, and that looks really comfortable as a weight on her back. Unfortunately, again, looks like that may have been just a little bit high, but that looks like such a comfortable light weight for her that I'm sure she can sink just a little inch or more and get that lift on the board. Hendrik now coming up for the same weight, 185 kilos. As Powerlifting America is an affiliate of the IPF, it uses the light system of the IPF, where there are three cards that can be used, three color cards that can be used when a red light is given, so that the lifter and their coach can have an idea of why a lift has been unsuccessful. So along with a red, you can also get a yellow, blue, blue, and red card alongside those to indicate the reason. No issues for Hendrik, though. A very comfortable opening squat. Noah right now going to 205 kilos. A little bit of shake as he controls the bar on the way out, but lets it settle. Brace as well there, and excellent. Lots of speed. Some lifters get a little shakier as they come out, but that was ultimately successful. Controlled the bar really well. Like we saw the lights flash for a second there, but we'll wait for those to come back up. You can see our spotters and loaders moving really efficiently today. They're a little bit like an F1 pit crew, moving so quickly, which is great for the lifter. It really helps to know that your spotting and loader crew is going to be quick, so you can predict when you're going to be coming out. Just waiting on those last lights for Noah there. You can see the referee sort of trying to get that sorted. Maybe perhaps going to the scoring table there to rectify that one. And we're back to the top of the order with Cheryl now. Cheryl's elected to go up 7.5 kilos. That looks like a reasonable jump from 100 kilos up to 107.5. Can see Cheryl getting ready here. Having a bit of a laugh before her next attempt. What we'll see from some of these lifters is their intensity will ramp up from attempt to attempt. Your opener is something that you might not want to spend all of your energy on, and that sort of excitement can rise through the 3 attempts as the weight gets heavier and heavier. But you'll see different lifters display that in different ways. Some will be more obviously animated externally. Some will keep all of that sort of excitement internal. And some are just very composed through the whole day. And we see a lot of different styles and sort of mental approaches and psychological approaches to lifting succeed. Again, Cheryl finding depth nicely there, it looked like. Yeah. 3 white lights for Cheryl. And as we've clearly seen, these referees aren't giving any gifts away. But that was really convincing depth. I didn't feel like that was going to be a risk to sort of, as the commentator, have a little guess and assume that one was going to be good. Renee also coming out for a 7.5 kilo jump. She moves up to 110 kilos on the bar, or 242 pounds. Wedges under the bar comfortably there. Nice second attempt. Looks like there's some more room there to continue moving up. Always a good thing. We'll have Michelle next with 115 kilos. electing to move up 12.5 on this attempt. Michelle is one of 4 lifters in our 84 plus division in the Women's Open. Looks comfortable there. 1 red light, but 2 is all she needs. She makes a successful attempt. Christy next, coming up for 115 kilos here. Can see her coach from the side there, looking to evaluate how this attempt moves and then what they're going to put on the bar next. Typically, we'll see smaller jumps or the same size jumps from second to third attempts as we see between first and seconds. But that looked super comfortable. It'll be interesting to see what they choose for a third attempt there. And a little wave to, I'm assuming, some friends or family in the audience. It's always nice at these local meets to make sure that, it's nice at these local meets that it's often easier for friends and family locally to travel out and support you. Astrid now with 120 kilos, around 264 pounds, coming up to the platform. Comfortable on depth. And 3 white lights. Alexis will be coming out for the same weight next. Bar is loaded, is called. And successful attempt for Alexis. Back to Leslie here for 122.5 kilos. Moves nicely for a second attempt there. Now back to Charles. Charles had that incredibly deep squat we saw in the openers there. Ended up putting in a position where he had quite a bit of a grind on his first attempt. Has elected to move up by 5 kilos to 130. That looks like a reasonable jump size. We'll see if he goes quite as deep with this attempt. May just be the style of squatting that he finds most advantageous for him. That super deep squat, but fights it. Spotters and loaders keep him safe. Unfortunately, that won't be a successful attempt for Charles, but we'll have another opportunity to come out and give that one another go. But excellent work by the spotters and loaders who are ready for that. We'll have Jessica coming out next for 137.5 kilo. Again, we're starting to see these lifters amp themselves up a little bit more. These will get to be some of the heavier weights that they'll have touched in the gym or during their training cycles. Some fight through this one. But didn't really have that much in the way of sticking points. I think there's still some room there. And a fantastic lift from Jessica. Just a smooth grind through the ascent there. Now, Kashla unfortunately missed this first attempt on depth. And has elected to move up by 5 kilos to 308 pounds. Looked plenty strong. So just needs to find that little bit more depth to convince our referees. Really needs to convince one of them. She did get one white light on her opener. So if she can convince another, she'll have a successful attempt here. Pretty high bar position, as we talked about last time. Very upright. Looked a little deeper to my eye. We'll see what the referees think. Yep, and that was sufficient. And like I said, you only need to convince one more, and you have a successful lift there. And that's exactly what Kashla has done. Fights that up. Let's see what she comes back for on the third. Teresa here. Same situation. Unfortunately missed this one on depth on her opener. It's come back for the same weight. I think that's a smart move. Just has to find that little, just to find a little bit more depth. And like I said, handled the weight very easily on the first attempt. So sinking a little deeper shouldn't be an issue for Teresa here. I think she's managed it there. I am presuming, of course, and she has. Gets all 3 white lights. Nice lift. Now Hendrik will move up to 195 kilos. Comfortable lift there. Again, no real sticking points. A little bit slower, but that's to be expected as these weights increase, and that was a 10-kilo jump. Looks really reasonable. Should be room for some more on the next attempt. Noah now coming out for 212.5 kilo. Noah had to control some shakiness on the ANRAC here, but you're imagining that that's the kind of thing that he's used to now as he moves up to these heavier weights. Did a great job of settling, controlling the weight before taking the attempt. As long as he keeps the composure, should be comfortable with this as well. If anything, I think that may have looked easier than the opener. So still plenty of room. He chose to move up by 7.5 kilos there. Obviously, we don't know what the aims that these lifters have today might be. Whether they're going for sort of milestone attempts, going for PRs, whatever it is that they're looking for and pacing themselves for, their goals will all vary. He looks happy in the back there. Cheryl's coach there looking to get the crowd a little amped up for this third attempt. First of our third attempts here with 115 kilos. Cheryl's last attempt to put a squat on the board. The best of her attempt will be added together with the best of her bench and deadlift for her total. Gets herself settled here. Start command given. Plenty deeps, fighting on the way up. Not quite there today. And a fantastic job by our spotters there to keep Cheryl safe. Strong effort, though. Renee now coming out for 117.5 kilos on the bar. And a really comfortable third attempt, that looked like. Yep, and the referees give her 2 white lights. That's all she needs. Successful attempt. She goes 3 for 3 on the day. we probably won't use this shot too much if one of our coaches, I believe that's Nicholas Cadiz from Granite State Powerlifting in New Hampshire, is taking a position there, which it's a smart position for him to take to be able to evaluate the lifts, but also to confirm that the right weight is on the bar for his lifters. Make sure that in the event that there is a misload, he kind of spots that for his lifter. Make sure they don't take an attempt that they weren't intending to. Michelle out here for 120 kilos for her third, 264 pounds. Looks strong under the bar and successful. Again, 2 white lights. Christy now coming out for the same weight. Christy's in the 52 kilo weight class, so this is a massive multiple of her body weight. 52 kilo woman lifting 120 kilos on the squat here. Plenty deep, fighting for it. Not quite there, unfortunately. Can be one of those sticking points just out of the hole. You can see her coach there now giving her a little bit of advice on what may have happened there. Having a little quick chat on that, and then I'm sure that soon they'll move on to thinking about the next lift, which will be bench. I'd love to see Nick there explain the lift to his lifter, get some instant feedback there. Alexis now with 122.5 kilo, around 270 pounds. Looks strong on the walkout. And 3 white lights. A 3-3 day so far for Alexis moving into that bench. Now Astrid coming out for 125 kilos. She moved up 7.5 kilos between first and second, and then 5 kilos between second and third. Some sort of standard attempt selections we'll see there, with that bigger jump between the opener and second. Very rare that you'll see a lifter go the opposite direction there. It's looking good. Waits for the rack command. And 3 white lights. She looks happy about that. Now Charles has elected to go for the same weight again, 130 kilos after not quite having the fight for it on that second attempt. Can he do it now? Has that really deep squat. There's no question on depth, that's for sure. And I suspect we're not going to see that change on this attempt either. RMC, Serge getting the crowd behind Charles here. Plenty deep and looks stronger. Looks like he can. Oh, you love to see that. He's clearly amped up about it. It's the excitement we want to see at a meet like this. And RMC remarking that's the deepest squat he's ever seen, and it's certainly up there for me on my personal list. But, you know, we'll find there are all kinds of different ways that squat technique can work differently for different people. Sometimes you want that really deep squat because you've got to take advantage of some stretch reflex at the bottom of the hole, help you be a little springier on the way out. Some people are really fighting, and we see that, to get down to depth and being as economical on the range of motion as possible. Leslie going for 130 kilos as well here. Leslie more economical with depth, but a smile at the top. Looks like she knows. That's good. 3 white lights. I'm being a little risky here with calling some of these early, but it did look a great lift, so wasn't too concerned. Jessica will now be going for her third and final attempt on squat with 140 kilos, 308 pounds. Great fight there. 3 white lights to close out her squat session. Kasha again electing to move up by 5 kilos. Saw that she corrected those perceived issues with depth on the first attempt. The referees were happy enough. She got 2 white lights on her second. Coming out looking to do the same, get 2 or 3 white lights again for another good attempt here with 145 kilos. Fighting with it. Seems stuck there for eternity. Unfortunately, just came down there. Spotters were ready to catch the bar for her. Just a hair too heavy. That were half a kilo or a kilo lighter. Unfortunately, not an attempt that she's legally allowed to select. You're only allowed to select increments of 2.5 kilos at this meet, as record attempts won't be on the table. If records were available, you'd be allowed to chip an attempt for an increment of 0.5 kilo. But here what we'll see, and we'll see this come into play in benches. Oh, we'll see it come to play in bench. These 2.5 kilo minimum attempts. So Teresa didn't find depth on the first, repeated on the second, now going for 200 kilos, around 441 pounds. Looked plenty strong with both of those attempts with 185 kilos. Just has to make sure she makes this one and gets down to depth again. Looked like a comfortable weight. We'll see what the refs think on depth. And yep, 3 white lights. Same as the second. Hendrick here with 205 kilos coming up. Amping himself up for this third attempt on squat. Spotters checking that the collars are on tight there to secure those plates on the bar. This is north of that 450 number, I believe, in pounds or American Freedom Units, however you wish to refer to them. Good on depth. Fighting a little out the hole, but it doesn't look like the bar went down, I don't think. Difficult to tell from my vantage point, but yep, the referees agree. 3 white lights and a jump of excitement there from Hendrick. We love to see that. Noah right next with a 5 kilo jump. 217.5 kilo. I believe that Noah will be our final squat attempt of Flight A, but we'll get confirmation of that in a second. Once his attempt is done, we'll move on to Flight B, our second group of lifters. Nice depth. Controls it well. If anything, left something in the tank there on the third attempt for Noah there. So he should be confident the next time he comes to a meet, he'll have more there. It looked like a really comfortable third attempt to me. Obviously, one of those things we don't know about these lifters is what kind of lifter they are in terms of speed versus strength. So some people will be more of a grinder on their lifts, and things will really slow down. Some will be very, very quick and explosive lifters, and when it slows down, it really slows down. So all of a sudden, things will get very slow. So now we have Chris Tufts, 147.5 kilo on the bar. I believe this is Chris's first meet. And he's driven up with his partner Leah here for, I believe, from Philly. So they drove up last night. What Chris will be looking for here is just to make sure that he gets this first attempt on the scoreboard. Comfortable on depth and really good speed. Referees like that one. 3 white lights and Chris is on the board for his first lift in a powerlifting meet, I believe. Now we have Quentin. I believe Quentin's coached by Ari Hamesi of the Strength Guys. Same weight here, settles with the bar, gets a squat command. Finds depth and shoots right back up. Looked like there was a little bit of fight there to find depth, but once he had it, exploded up, 3 white lights. We'll move on to an attempt from Adam Olsen here with 150 kilos, around 330 pounds or thereabouts. Very deep squat. Fights a little bit on the way up. Successful lift there for Adam. Now we'll have Kyle making his first attempt with 152.5 kilo. Looks like Kyle's in our equipped division, but doesn't appear to be using any equipment on this attempt. It may be that he chooses to use something like a bench shirt on bench or a deadlift suit on deadlift for a little bit more support, but for now he's wearing knee sleeves, which typically is classic, or as is often known in the US, raw lifting. I was trying to track who Kyle might have been there because I was looking for an equipped lifter back there or anyone in knee wraps or a squat suit, and I couldn't find them. So now we'll have John, same weight. John in our sub-junior division. Finds his stance width. A little wide there. Finds depth, it looks like, to me at least. A successful first attempt. And a little wave. Looks happy. Brian Smith prepared now for 162.5 kilo on the bar. You can see the spotters and loaders having to start moving the uprights a little higher for some of our taller lifters here. What we're hoping for the viewers at home is that none of these lifters are so tall they'll be out of frame, but there are no guarantees at this point. You can see as the uprights go higher, the combo rack gets a little shakier, so controlling that bar on the way out, sort of wedging in to unrack it, can get a little bit more challenging. Nice on depth there. Looked comfortable as a speed goes. Yep, and a nice 3 white light lift. Now Keith will be coming up next. A little heavier in weight, 165 kilo. Keith being handled there by Eric, the owner of the gym that we're in today, the Titan Barbell location in Stoneham, Massachusetts. It's a fantastic gym, and they've been great hosts for us for this meet. Looked like he was going to struggle to find depth there, but then really, really found it with a very deep squat, 3 white lights. Gets a thumbs up from the handler. Assume they can move on to their planned best attempt for the second attempt. A lot of these lifters will have a couple of attempts in mind, maybe an A or a B attempt, so that if things move well, we'll move on to the A attempt. If things aren't quite as we wanted, we can select that B attempt value. After each attempt, successful or otherwise, the lifter or their coach or handler will approach the scoring table, select the weight that they want, and have that entered in within around a minute of their previous attempt. Scott coming up here for 167.5 kilo. Very snappy first attempt there. One red card, but 2 white lights is all you need. It's a majority rules system here. Joseph now preparing to come out with 170 kilos. Beautiful squat opener there. Really comfortable. Has plenty of room to add some weight to the bar for that second attempt. Now Sean McClory coming out for 185 kilo opening attempt here, opening above the 400-pound mark. We should expect in this second of 2 flights in Flight B to get to some of those heavier squats that we'll see. Looks comfortable there. Let's see what the referees think. 3 white lights. Next up we have Justin Nutt with 245 kilo. Justin's travelled from Portland, Maine today. Sniffing some ammonia there. He's allowed to do that as long as it's not in front of the platform there. He's giving his headphones away as well, as he can't wear those on the platform either. Psyching himself up early here for this 245 kilo attempt. Five spotters out there now for this load. Well over 500 pounds, closer to 550. Plenty deep. Looks good. Justin's got some big plans for today. You can see the referee here. It's going to get more difficult as we have 5 spotters on the platform, but this will give you a good view of it. The referee there trying to find a position to make sure that they can evaluate depth. The main important thing is that we have enough spotters and loaders there that they can keep the lifters safe. So the referees then have to sort of work around that to find position to make sure that they can see that top of the knee and the hip crease as well, or the top surface of the hip joint. Ryan also in the 120 kilo weight class, a sub-junior coming out for 260 kilos here. Massive lift for anybody, but for a sub-junior, especially impressive. He's taking a wide stance here. Looks great on depth and strong as well. 3 white lights. Now we'll go back to the top of the order. We'll have Kyle coming out again for 155 kilo. Bar is loaded is called for Kyle here. Waiting for him to come out for this attempt. So your wrists are wrist wraps are one of the things you cannot change on the platform. We'll see. Yep, the technical controller's stopping him there. He does have a minute from when bar is loaded is called, so he's still got a little bit of time. But you cannot adjust your wrist wraps on the platform. You can only adjust your belt. It's the only item of equipment you're allowed to adjust once you're on the platform. So anything else, you've got to make sure it's dealt with. He remembers to clasp the buckle on his belt there. Bit of a rush. Maybe might not have been ready to be the start of that next flight. Seems to have got the start command in time. And a good-looking attempt there. So despite being a little bit rushed, managed to make good of the situation. Gets that 2.5 kilos additional toward his total. We've got Adam Olsen coming up next for the same weight here. Looks confident and gets those 3 white lights. Now our third lifter with the same weight. Chris will be attempting 155 kilos also. Looking calm before this one. So calm, in fact, that he's having a bit of a giggle. Very high bar position for Chris here. Gets the start command. Finds depth well again. And smooth on the way up. A little slower, but you expect that with 7.5 kilo more on the bar. Now we'll move back to Quentin, who's elected to go up 10 kilos. Looks amped up. Gets that double fist pump. That's what we all need before a big attempt. It's always interesting to see the different ways in which lifters will amp themselves up for an attempt. It's good on the unrack. Brace as well. And incredibly fast on the way up. As I said last time, it looks like Quentin sort of searches for depth, but once he hits it, it's explosive all the way up. Good lift. John also electing to move up by 10 kilos here to 162.5 kilos. Looks strong. And I didn't want to say it before this attempt because I don't want to jinx any individual lifter. And yeah, a good lift. But what our lifters have done today is an excellent job of observing those commands we talked about earlier, the start and the rack command. Lifters have been waiting to get those to ensure that they're in the right position for the end and the completion of the lift, for the start and the completion of the lift rather. And that's always great to see. You don't want to see lifters lose attempts to something like missing a command. That'll get more risky as we move on to the bench press, which does have more commands and can be perceived as being a more technical lift. Keith Jenkins now coming up for 175 kilos. That 3 reds on the bar, plus the competition collar. So a milestone number here. Always nice to see those pairs of reds stack up. Finds depth well again. And a successful attempt for Keith there. Next we have Scott, one of our taller lifters, attempting 175 kilo also. Flight's moving nice and quickly here, but not too fast. Our spotters and loaders doing a great job at managing the flow of moving these weights around. Nice lift for Scott there. Bryant Smith giving a fist bump to Scott. And he'll be electing to take 177.5 kilo when that's loaded for him. Spotting crew doing a good job of checking each other's work and ensuring the right weight is on the bar. Very high bar upright position that Bryant's electing to choose here. Looks strong. We'll see what the refs say. Yeah, he did get one red light for depth there. That looked a little bit more borderline than his first attempt. He'll just have to make sure that he sinks whatever he elects to go for the third. Make sure that's convincing. But 2 white lights is all you need. A successful attempt there. Joseph electing to go for 180 kilos now, or 396 pounds. Marching up to the barbell. Centering that grip. Really nice looking squat there. Plenty of room to move up for the third attempt. Next we'll have Sean McClory for 195 kilos. Nice looking lift from Sean there. Referees agree. Sean gets 3 white lights for this lift. Let's have another look at it. Really good on depth there. Nice smooth. It's a little slower as the weight increases, but a very smooth lift on the way up. Next we'll have Justin Nutt going for 260 kilos. Again, he has the ammonia in hand. I think he's the only lifter so far today we've seen use that. Ammonia is something you tend to see come out more on squat and deadlift, particularly on deadlift for a lot of lifters. For those lifters who like to get a little bit more amped up before an attempt. I'm sure we're going to see him hand that off to Brian Scanlon here, who working with his wife Meg Scanlon to produce this meet today. Again, getting very amped up, one of our more animated lifters in today's session. Again, we're seeing those 5 spotters come out to ensure the safety of the lifter. Settling with the bar there. Gets the squat command. And a convincing second attempt. That was a 15 kilo jump. We'll see what Justin goes for on that third, whether he'll go 15 kilo again. Ryan here with 275 kilos. So he's the first of our lifters to breach that 600 pound mark. Again, as a sub-junior, really impressive weight that we're seeing moved here. This is 606 pounds. And you'll see that it's 5 pairs of reds with that competition collar on the outside for a total of 275 kilo. Stumbled a little bit on the unrack. Not 100% what happened there, but are they looking for a misload? The collar had come a little loose. Wasn't quite tight there, so we saw a little bit of movement in the plates, and he could feel that on the unrack. Clearly a veteran lifter. Clips the rack slightly on the outside, but is settling well. Good depth. Not quite there on strength, but that was a difficult set of circumstances there with the collar not quite tight and clipping the rack on the outside. One nice thing about this Leica combo rack is that it's got a small footprint. It's one of the better racks to avoid clipping, which clipping, for those that don't know, is when you sort of touch the rack with the bar and the plates as you come out of the rack. You tend to see it a little bit more on bench, I think. Some of the larger combo racks, some of the more overbuilt ones, than on squat. It's why, as well, you'll see some veteran lifters will elect to have the uprights in. They'll tilt them in for squat. Some lifters, in fact, will tilt in just one of the uprights on one side or the other, depending on the leg that they walk out with first. And that can help to avoid that clipping issue. But I think that it was a tricky set of circumstances there. Adam Olsen now with 162.5 kilo. So what Adam's done here, he's elected to go 5 kilo from his opener to his second, and now 7.5 kilo to the third. So I think, as we said, the second kilo looked like it moved really well. Second attempt looked like it moved very well, sorry. RMC there in the gorilla outfit. It's Halloween weekend after all. Looked like a strong attempt from Adam. See what the referees think of it. 3 white lights. I think it was a good selection there. It's unconventional to increase an attempt by more for the third attempt, but he clearly had the weight. I'm not sure that more would have been there today, but that was a nice, and it ended up being a nice, safe and conservative number for Adam. Chris now, and with 162.5 kilos himself. TC signals to him that the bar is loaded and he's good to go. Finds his footing. Good depth. And a good fight on the way up. 3 white lights for Chris. Quentin now at 165 kilos. Looks like he's amping himself up there in that yellow singlet. With these third attempts, we tend to see the energy levels rise a little bit. So he looks fired up for this one. Look for him to search for depth here and then explode up. And he does again. Comfortable lift. Didn't really look like a third attempt, but again, it's one of those things you don't really know what a lifter's sort of speed profile looks like unless you see a lot of their lifting. John, one of our sub-junior competitors, coming out for 167.5 kilo here, a 5 kilo increase. And a good lift for John. Kyle now. Looked like he had to be a little bit rushed on the way out for the second. I'm almost wondering whether that increase from 152.5 to 155 may have been as he was unable to get an attempt to the scoring table in time. If that happens, then they'll move up your attempt by the smallest legal increment, 2.5 kilos. So it may be that 155 kilos wasn't a weight that Kyle was looking to attempt there. So hopefully 170 kilos is closer to his goals for the day. Looked amped up for this, decided to use ammonia to hype himself up on the way out. Looks strong under the bar. Braces. Finds depth, fighting on the way up. Successful lift. 3 white lights for Kyle there. And he's happy about that. You see him skipping away there to the warm-up room, preparing to get those benches in. Scott Lynn now will be coming up for 182.5 kilos, so just over that 400-pound mark, I believe. Big milestone number, that. Scott, one of our calmer lifters in his approach to the bar. Doesn't help to try and be overly animated if you're not that kind of lifter. To try and sort of pretend that you are and put yourself in that space can often work against you. Scott seems to know himself here. He's taken a calm and measured approach, very composed. Very technical walkout. Looks strong. I think Scott had more there. I think that obviously if 182.5 was his goal for the day, fantastic, but I think that Scott can be confident there'll be more there for a future competition. Keith now electing to use ammonia as well. He's hyping himself up for this 185 kilo attempt. As we mentioned earlier, handled by Eric, the proprietor of Titan Barbell, our location for today. Keith getting some local support here as well from the crowd. Yells of encouragement. Taking that super wide grip on the bar. Finds depth again, fighting on the way up. Waiting on the lights there. I'm going to guess that was a good attempt. It was. I love it when I guess right. Bryant Smith now coming up for 187.5 kilos. Spotters and loaders adjusting that rack height for each lifter. They will select and determine those rack heights at the start of the meet, both for squat and also for bench. For bench, they'll be electing not just the height of the uprights, but also the height of the safeties, the face savers as they're often known, to keep the lifter safe during their attempts. Bryant Smith coming out for this 187.5 kilo attempt now. We've seen him use this very high bar position, a very upright squat. A smile at the top there. And 2 white lights, a successful lift. Bryant makes all 3 of his squat attempts today. Joseph Burke next with the same weight, I believe. You can see that as we're ending this session now, for squat at least, as lifters go back to prepare for bench. Fewer lifters assembled here in the on-deck area. Bar is loaded for Joseph. Had a very strong-looking squat today. Let's see him go 3 for 3 here. A great looking attempt for Joseph. Yeah, 3 white lights. Sean McClory coming up next for 205 kilo. I believe this is the 450-pound mark. Again, another big milestone number for Sean here. Nice fight on the way up. Looks like a well-selected attempt for Sean there. And 3 white lights. Good even 10 kilo jumps between those attempts. Now we're going to see Ryan Mustoe come back for 275 kilos. Didn't quite make this on his second attempt. We'll see him fight for it here on the third. He had a couple of issues there. The collar wasn't quite tight. And then a little clip of the uprights on the way out. Let's see him face a fewer obstacles this time. Hopefully make this attempt. It is a big lift, 660 pounds for a sub-junior lifter. For any lifter, 606 pounds is a significant amount of weight. But for a sub-junior lifter, particularly impressive. Crowd getting behind Ryan here. Wide stance with those feet turned out. Strong. Little fight in the middle here. Can he fight through it? He does. Excellent. And ends up looking like an attempt that I think was kind of perfect for a third attempt, honestly. Excellent. So Justin here has elected to take a pretty large jump, 17.5 kilos. He's gone up 15 kilos from his opener to his second attempt. Now 17.5 from 260 kilos up to 277.5. He is a lifter who likes to get himself fired up. He's been competing for many years. This would be a PR for Justin. I believe last year at this meet he squatted 275 kilos, going for 2.5 more now. This would be a big deal for him. Taking that ammonia again. Tightens the belt. MC making sure the crowd gives him plenty of energy. Settling with the bar here. Finds depth. Fighting on the way up. Fighting through it. Grinding. Pushing. Waits for that rack command. And an excellent 3 white lights. He's overjoyed by that. We love to see it. See from the side there, giving thanks to the spotters and loaders. That'll be the end of our squat session. And we'll move on to bench soon. We'll be back in about 10 minutes here. There are standings. Plenty of green. We saw lots of made attempts there in that first discipline with squat. We'll be back in around 10 minutes. We'll see you then. And welcome back to Powerlifting America Scary Strong 2 here in Stoneham, Massachusetts. Our referees are in position there in their seats for the bench press event as we begin to kick off for that event next. We have 2 flights of lifters in this meet for you today. 13 lifters in each flight. And we have, I believe, a bench press only competitor as well competing for this discipline. So first up, we're going to have Renee with 50 kilos here. On the bench press, we've got 3 commands: the start, the press, and the rack, and the lifters will be expected to observe all of those commands. Quite a few more technical things to watch out for on the bench, ensuring we've got 3 points of contact with the feet continually planted, the hips, the shoulders, and the head all in contact with the bench. Renee waiting for that start. And then press command here, and rack. Just waiting on those lights for that 50 kilo attempt. 110 pounds there for Renee. While we wait for those lights, I believe we have Cheryl coming up after Renee to follow. And 3 white lights there for Renee. Cheryl just going a little heavier with 52.5 kilo for her first attempt. Discussing how she wishes to receive the lift off. Lifters can speak to the chief member of the platform crew here to receive a lift off on the bench to assist with getting the barbell out of the rack and into position. Each lifter will want to speak to that member of the platform crew to specify exactly how they want to receive the handoff. And then that person will move out of the way quickly to ensure that the lifter can receive the commands. 3 white lights for Cheryl for this lift. Looks smooth. As on bench press, we tend to see lighter lows lifted versus your squat or deadlift attempts. That's the case for almost all lifters. The increases from lift to lift will also be smaller. You should think about those increases in percentage terms. And of course, if you're using lighter weights, you're going to have a smaller increase as you go from attempt to attempt as well. So for many of these lifters, where we're seeing attempts at sort of the 50, 52.5 and now 60 kilo range, we'll expect jumps to be around 2.5 or 5 kilos, rather than perhaps the 7.5 or 10 that you might see on squat. Michelle here with 60 kilos now. Three white lights for Michelle. Alexis now is going to take the same attempt, making sure to adjust her wrist wraps and get those thumb loops off before she approaches the platform. Some spooky decorations on that back wall there for this Halloween-themed Scary Strong 2 meet. It's getting scary. Not for Alexis, though. That was a comfortable lift. Nice opener. And she has 3 white lights for that attempt. Christy now coming out for 65 kilo. Opening well over her body weight here. Christy's competing in the 52 kilo class. Coached by Nicodis out of Granite State Powerlifting, known for his bench press. Sliding behind the bar here. Look for Christy to generate a lot of tension in this setup. See her wedging herself in there. Getting her feet ready to position to create a lot of leg drive, as it's known. And a nice press from Christy. And 3 white lights. Next, Leslie will be attempting the same weight, 65 kilos. Leslie handled by Giuliano here. Our platform crew doing a great job with those lift-offs there. Gliding the bar out to the lifter. And a snappy attempt from Leslie. And a fist bump there to celebrate. As her handler goes to the scoring table to enter that next attempt. Astrid now eyeing up 67.5 kilo. That looked very comfortable. Surely a way that Astrid's done a lot of times in the gym there. Charles now with 70 kilos for his bench opener. He's one of our longer limbed lifters. Obviously in the bench press, what that means is the bar has further to travel, which means more work done. Comfortable attempt for Charles there. Gets himself those 3 white lights. A fist bump from Jessica as she goes up for the same lift. 70 kilos on the bar. Just adjusting those uprights. So that Jessica has her wrist wraps already on before she hits the platform. Not allowed to adjust those on the platform, although we may sometimes see that for bench. Jessica getting her hair out the way there so that the referees can see that her head is in contact with the bench. One of the requirements for this discipline. Gets a start command. Really nice press commands today from our chief referee. Kashla now looking relaxed before her bench opener with 82.5 kilo. Getting some chalk on the back there for some adhesion with the shoulder blades and the bench. Benching on the Alico pad today, which has a lot of grip to it already. It's a nice pad. I believe this is Meg Scallon's personal Alico combo rack from her home gym. I've complimented this thing a lot already, but I do love this combo rack. Bit of a fight, but a successful attempt it looks like. Yep, 3 white lights for Kashla. Now Noah will be coming out for 85 kilos. Electing to go without any supportive equipment here. No wrist straps, no belt. Only requirements are that you wear some socks, some footwear, a singlet and a shirt. And on deadlift, you'll be required to wear long socks as well. And we'll see lifters come out with those. Wedging himself in here, generating some of that tension as he unracks the bar. Lower the hips now to be in contact with the bench. And a snappy first attempt for Noah there. Springs up. Now we see Teresa coming out for 97.5 kilo. Just shy of a 200-pound opener here. That's no joke. I think Teresa is sporting some spookier long socks for this themed event today. I presume those are the long socks that she'll also deploy for deadlift as well, that we were just talking about as a requirement. And 3 white lights for Teresa there. Hendrick now with 115 kilos on the bar. Comfortable looking opener there. 3 white lights. Back to the top of the flight now for Renee with 55 kilos, a 5 kilo jump. Again, as we were talking about, these minimum attempt sizes of 2.5 kilos can start to bite it a little bit more on bench, where the loads tend to be lighter. This is a 10% increase. And of course, with the competition collars themselves weighing 5 kilos, will mean that she gets those yellow plates on the bar. Coach Nicotis, you can see there, in position to analyze this lift. Look nice. 3 white lights. Now also Cheryl come out for the same weight, electing to move up by 2.5 kilos. See that leg driver, she forces the bar up there. 3 white lights. I expect another 2.5 kilo attempt from Cheryl there. Michelle now with 65 kilos going on the bar. Should see us move to those blue plates. And a very comfortable attempt there. No real slowdown in bar speed, it didn't seem. Alexis Tanner now with 67.5 kilos. Lowers the hips into position. And a comfortable press there. Our spotting and loading crew, as you can see, moving very quickly to load the bar and reset the height. Ensuring to also change the height of the face savers where necessary to keep our lifters safe. 3 white lights for Alexis there. Now Christy will be moving on to 70 kilos. More of a fight here. Slightly uneven lockout, but that isn't a cause for concern as long as the centre of the bar doesn't go down. There's a bit of a grin there. And 3 white lights. And coach seems happy. Will be a fun decision there to decide what to do next. Looks like she's waving off at the scoring table. May elect to not go for another attempt. Leslie now for 70 kilos. You can, of course, elect to scratch an attempt and not decide to come back for another. But Nick's now at the scoring table. He may decide to go for that 2.5 kilos. There's a fight on that second, but not to say that we'll be able to get more. Leslie here with a very smooth second attempt with 70 kilo. Now Astrid will increase the bar weight by 2.5 kilos up to 72.5. Looks confident. She prepares to go out. You'll see that some lifters are electing to use headphones and such before an attempt. Some will just wait, listen to the competition music. Just depends what makes you comfortable before you go for these heavy attempts. Really nice bench there. Charles applauding as he's preparing to go out for his 75 kilo attempt. An example of a lifter who's getting himself a little bit more worked up, enthusiastic. At least we can see that externally. For some lifters, they'll keep it all internal. Pass loaded for Charles now with a 75 kilo bench. 75 kilos means we get that pair of reds on the bar with those 5 kilo competition collars as well. One of those things people sometimes don't understand, if they're not familiar with competition plates, is that you've got a 20 kilo bar there, 2 25 kilo plates, and then that set of competition collars, it's also another 5 kilos for that 75 kilo total. Bit of a fight. Unfortunately, the bar comes back down. Doesn't make that attempt, but has an opportunity to come back for that weight or more if he desires. I'd imagine he would go for the same attempt again. Jessica now coming out for the same weight, 75 kilos. Jessica with some impressive lifting already today with a 140 kilo squat earlier, that 308 pound squat we saw. Another impressive and controlled lift here. 75 kilos, looks like that will be a good attempt for Jessica, and it is. Kashla now with 87.5 kilo. We've seen that Kashla's using some chalk on her upper back there to get that adhesion between her shoulder blades and the bench. Make sure she can generate plenty of power there. Bar is loaded, is called. Not seen any issues with it so far, but bench is one of those lifts where it can be harder to meet all those different requirements of a valid start position. You want to have your elbows locked, your hips, shoulders and head on the bench, and your feet planted on the ground before you get that start command. What a fight there. Presses it out in the end. Little uneven on the way up, but successful. 3 white lights for Kashla. And again, another fist bump from her coach. Noah right now coming out for a 7.5 kilo jump to 92.5. Puts us over 200 pounds for Noah here. Noah is competing in our sub-junior age division. He's a teenager. And competing in the 93 kilo weight class, so around 205 pound body weight. Nice press from Noah there. Pretty close grip on the bar, which will increase the range of motion. But almost certainly a position that he feels strongest in, safest in. Teresa now coming out for 102.5 kilos. So in pound math, That's 225 pounds or thereabouts, and two 45-pound plates on each end of a bar. So a pretty standard gym milestone in most gyms in the US that will have pound plates. I'd imagine this is a weight that Teresa has hit in the gym before. But a pretty massive lift here. Following up from a 200 kilo squat earlier, 441 pounds. Nice control on the way down. Beautiful attempt. That looks good and sets her up for a nice third as well. Wouldn't be surprised if there's another 5 kilos there. Hendrick now coming out for 122.5 kilos, or around 270 pounds. Hendrick coming out now. Finds his grip on the bar. There is a maximum width that you're allowed to take on the bench press. Many lifters will elect to take that maximum width to reduce the range of motion. Successful lift for Hendrick there. The closer in with your hands you go, the more tricep and deltoid shoulder dominant the lift will become. The wider you go, typically the more chest. So depending on where you're strongest, you may elect to take a different position between max grip or something narrower. You'll often see that lifters who've, for example, done a lot of overhead pressing or maybe some Olympic weightlifting before, will like a narrower position, or perhaps they have a strong mountain background. And that'll mean that they'll have some pretty strong pressing in those positions. Often with powerlifters, you'll see them take that max width instead. But there are all kinds of reasons why you may feel stronger in different positions. And really, it just comes down to each lifter to try them all out. Cheryl now going for that 2.5 kilo jump that I suspect that she would. 57.5 kilos here for her third and final attempt. Waiting on those lights. Unfortunately, got a red from all three refs there. Not entirely clear what that was for, but the side ref trying to explain what it was. Moving on to Renee now with 60 kilos. All of these lifters need to make just one successful bench press attempt, one successful squat, and then they will be able to build their total with a successful deadlift attempt as well. Of course, best if you can go 9 for 9, make all 9 of those attempts on the day. But it's not always possible. Renee completes the lift, but one of the side referees thought that he saw her hips come up off the bench. The others didn't think that that was an issue, or they didn't see them rise. That's why we have 3 referees, though, for these 3 different vantage points. It can sometimes be difficult to see if things like hips have fully risen off the bench. Obviously, there's some movement of the hips during the bench anyway. Doesn't mean they completely come off. And you need the hips to completely rise off the bench for it to be an invalid attempt. Michelle now is 70 kilos. A bit of settling on the chest there. Successful attempt. She makes all 3 of those benches. Alexis now is 72.5 kilos. Squatting down, limbering up, getting ready to get her this setup position. Picking herself up for this third bench attempt. Not quite there today, but Alexis will take that 67.5 kilo bench onto deadlifts. Back to Christy now, 72.5 kilos, going for that minimum 2.5 kilo increase that we thought that she might if she was going to take an attempt here. The 70 kilo attempt was a fight, but it's possible that with a slight change in positioning or something like that, we could see her make light work of this 72.5 kilo. Again, Christy's competing in our 52 kilo body weight division, so 72.5 kilos is a very large number. Not quite there, but as she'd made the 70 kilo attempt, she got every kilo that she could on the day. As lifters can only choose increments here of 2.5 kilos, and she made the 2.5 kilo increment just below that attempt. So successful every day, successful attempt for the day overall. The attempt selection game is really one of ensuring that you can get the maximum possible kilos for however strong you are during competition. Leslie here is going again for a 2.5 kilo increase, like the lifter before her. 72.5 kilos. That looks well chosen to me. And a successful lift. The thing is, when you're talking in this sort of 70s range, an increase of just 2.5 kilos can be quite a lot in terms of a percentage uplift. Charles now coming back for another fight with 75 kilos. Little rendezvous with the enemy here. Charles has a very long range of motion on the bench, often called a bench stroke, which means that he'll have more work to do to lower the bar and to raise it back up to that start position. Setting himself up for that start position here. Gets a start command. Gets the press command, fighting off the chest. Just a bit too much today. But he has that one good attempt from his opener for 70 kilos, so he'll move on and be able to form a total with his deadlift. Astrid now with 77.5 kilo on the bar. Just caught off the chest there. A common sticking point. Jessica's now going to come out for the same weight. Looking pretty relaxed, I would say, before this attempt. Little smile before she comes out for this one. Well chosen third attempt in my eye there. Ref see it as a good lift, 3 white lights, and a high five from a handler there. Cashler now coming out for a 2.5 kilo increase herself, up to 90 kilos, 198 pounds, just shy of that 200 mark. Making sure that her wrist straps are adjusted before she gets on the platform here. Chalking up. There's a fight there off the chest, but not quite enough today, unfortunately. But again, we'll end that bench session for Kashla with every kilo she could get on the day. She just hit that 87.5 kilo before that 90 kilo attempt before. Noah now coming out for 100 kilos or 220 pounds. Big milestone number, that even 100. Nice lift for Noah there. Teresa now with 107.5 kilo. That 102.5 that we saw for the second attempt moved incredibly nicely. And I think I said that I thought she might have another 5 kilos here. So let's see if I was right. Always fun to have a little bit of skin in the game as a commentator. Really control par path on the way down there and a fight on the way up. I think she had the 5 kilos. A successful attempt for Teresa there. Really nicely chosen attempt. Because I agree with it, obviously. No, but genuinely great effort there. Hendrik now with 125 kilos, 275 pounds. And you'll see that's that iconic 2 pairs of red plates. A little stuck off the chest there. And that concludes our Flight A for bench press. We'll move on to Flight B now. We're kicking us off. We'll see Joel, our bench-only competitor for today, with 87.5 kilo. So adding in this extra competitor will give our lifters in Flight B a little bit more rest time. And obviously for Flight A as well, we'll add in around another 3 minutes of those 3 attempts for Joel. So that those lifters from Flight A get a bit more time to recover before they move into deadlift. Typically lifters like the extra time to recover, so I'm sure that everyone's pretty happy to have this bench-only competitor join us. And hopefully Joel has a great day for the 3 attempts he's come out to make here. Kicking off with this 87.5 kilo. Very comfortable lift. He's on the board. I say before we see the lights. Oh, and the commentator's cursor's hit, unfortunately. Not quite sure what that was for, but there was a blue card thrown. Poor form by me, unfortunately, to guess ahead of the referees making their determinations. Of course, they are in better spots than I am to see all these aspects. John now with 87.5 kilos also. I'll wait this time. But a good lift for John. Scott Lynn now coming up for 92.5 kilos at that 200-pound mark to kick things off for Scott. Scott, like many lifters, not electing to take a lift off here. You can take the lift off, as we've discussed, from the platform crew to get that bar out of the rack and into position. Quick descent from Scott there. A quick press up. He's on the board for bench. Obviously, by not taking a lift off, you remove a variable. You don't exactly know how the platform crew are going to execute in that lift off and whether it's going to be exactly to your liking. So if you do train without a lift off and can sort of be ready for knowing the consistency of your own self lift off, you can remove a variable in competition. So there are lifters who'll go either way on that question of whether to take a lift off from the platform crew or not. Kyle opening up with 100 kilos here, or 220 pounds. Looks like a comfortable weight for Kyle. Three white lights for Kyle there. Adam Olsen opening up at 102.5 kilos, 225 pounds, which we've mentioned before is in many gyms that milestone lift of 4 45-pound plates, 2 pairs per side. Sorry, 2 pairs. Worried if the hip shot up there. It's a fast lift. 3 white lights. Chris Tufts now coming out for the same weight. Comfortable. Very close grip position for Chris there. But an easy lift. Joseph will be up next with 110 kilos or 242 pounds. Opting here to take a self lift off. Pops off the chest. 3 white lights for Joseph. Quentin now getting ready for 115 kilos. It's his opening attempt on the bench press. And a comfortable opener for Quentin there with 3 white lights. Bryant Smith there making sure to get the thumb loops off the end of his wrist wraps, it appears. While you can use them to get your wrist wraps on, secure them in place while you wrap them, they cannot be on as you approach the platform. Bryant electing to use knee sleeves here. None of the pieces of equipment, the pieces of supportive equipment, are restricted to a single lift. You can use wrist wraps on deadlift, you can use knee sleeves on deadlift, and you can use them on squat and bench as well. Same with the belt. Nice lift for Bryant. The only piece of equipment that you must have that varies between lifts is that you must have long socks during the deadlift. Or, if you're choosing to wear knee sleeves on the deadlift, there is a rule that the socks and the knee sleeves can't be in contact. So your socks can be a little shorter, but they're still going to have to be long enough that there's a lot of coverage of the shin up until the point where you're seeing those knee sleeves. They just can't contact each other. Now, Sean McClory coming out here for 125 kilos, 275 pounds for an opener. Looked pretty explosive as attempts go. Now I see Justin Nutt coming out for the same weight. Justin choosing to use some ammonia again. Not as big of a hit of ammonia as we saw him take for squat, but still waking himself up, getting himself alert for this attempt. Snappy. Really, really comfortable lift there. Set him up for a big jump, you'd think. 3 white lights. Keith Jenkins will be our first lifter to open up in this flight. Over 300 pounds, and in fact over 315 pounds, I believe. We're looking more around 320 here with this 145 kilo lift. Keith not electing to take a lift off from the platform crew here. Gets that start command. Easy lift. 1 red light. I've got to be careful about presuming how the lift will be judged, but it did look easy. It did look strong. Ryan now, our sub-junior 120 competitor, 264-pound weight class, is going to lead us off with a bench attempt of 170 kilos. Looks like Ryan will accept a lift off for this attempt. Two red lights for Ryan there. Looks like the ref may be indicating that that was his hips rising, but I'm not entirely sure. John now coming up for 92.5 kilos. 200 pounds. Not too much of a drop in speed for John there. Got some room to keep increasing. Joel now, our bench-only competitor, unsuccessful for technical reasons with the 87.5 attempt, now going for 95 kilos. The 87.5 moved quickly, so as long as he can clean up those technical issues, he'll be good to go. One of the Granite State powerlifting team here we've seen a lot of representatives from, coming out of New Hampshire. If the name of the team wasn't a giveaway for you there. So that one was pretty clear. Bit of fight through the middle there, but he locks it out. And 3 white lights. He's on the board. And with that, we have everyone on the board for bench. Joel's our solo bench press only competitor, but for every other lifter, what that means is that they all have a squat on the board, they all have a bench on the board, and they're all in prime position to complete and make a total as we proceed to deadlifts after these bench press attempts from this second flight. Scott now with 97.5 kilos. Looked as comfortable as his first. Kyle will follow that up with 107.5 kilos next. Kyle's going for a hit of ammonia here. Trying to amp himself up for this attempt. 7.5 kilo jump. Obviously going from 100 to 107.5 kilos. That is no small increase. Pretty easy to work out what it is. It's a 7.5% increase. Kyle is in the equipped division. Didn't elect to use any equipment on squat that I could see. No squat suit and no knee wraps. And isn't using a bench shirt here. So perhaps he'll be wearing a deadlift suit for deadlift, but I'm probably going to check that with the scoring team and ensure that he's correctly entered into that division. Adam Olsen now will come up for 107.5 kilos also. Just a bit too heavy there. Looked like a little bit of a technical issue potentially. Hips looked to move around a little bit there before the bar came off the chest. Perhaps something that he can clean up. It's one of those things. You can't get stronger in a single round of lifters, but you can improve from technical issues. So it could be he can clean that up for the next attempt. Chris now with 110 kilos, 242 pounds. Chris competing in our 83 kilo division, so up to 181 pounds in body weight. So we're talking at least 60 pounds above body weight here. Again, a very close grip position for Chris. Very comfortable press there. Locks it out. 3 white lights. Looks to that loading screen for confirmation of a good lift. Joseph Burke following with 117.5 kilos on the bar. Three white lights for Joseph there. Quentin now, 7.5 kilo jump to 122.5. Quentin's first attempt moved quickly. So I'd say the 7.5 kilo increase is warranted. Let's see how he executes with this. Yep, a nice smooth second attempt there. As the weight increases, we're looking for bar speed typically to reduce slightly. But still, that was smooth, no real sticking point. Brian Smith now will make a 10 kilo increase from his previous bench attempt, moving to 127.5 kilos. As we noted, Brian is electing to continue to use knee sleeves, which he used also on the squat event, using those on bench as well. Bench is often thought to be an upper body lift, and primarily it is, but it ends up being a full body compound movement with the deployment of leg drive to support the lift. You can see Bryant's legs pop there as he tries to make that attempt. Does lock out the bar. See what the rest think. Yeah, unfortunately it looked like the bar did drop slightly in the middle of that attempt. And that downward movement will unfortunately cost him that lift. But he can look to clean that up for a third attempt with the same weight, or elect to increase the attempt as well. Sean McClory coming up for 132.5 kilos here. Just shy of 300 pounds, getting close to that mark. And I'm sure that should he be successful with this weight, that'll be a level that we see him increase to with his third and final bench. Getting close now to that third round of benches. Looked solid. Some more room in there for sure. One red light from the chief referee, but a good lift. 2 white lights is all you need for your attempts to be valid. Justin Nutt now coming out with 137.5 kilos. That will be 303 pounds. Hence that star command. A little bit of a fight through the middle, but successful. Just waiting for those lights to come up now. As our next lifter waits suspensefully. And 3 white lights for Justin there. Move on to Keith Jenkins with 155 kilos. Keith with a remarkably proficient bench there. Gets that lift. Ryan now coming back with 175 kilos, getting those 3 pairs of reds on the bar. Not successful with the 170-pound attempt. 170-kilo attempt, rather. Quite a bit more. Not successful with the 170-kilo attempt, but 175 now. Electing to increase, as is his right. Describing how he wants to get that lift off. Ryan's clearly come out here with some big goals. After that 275 kilo, 606 pound squat we just saw, now the 175 kilo bench attempt, building a really large total here. Some fight on the way up there. See what the referees think. 1 red light, but 2 white lights. As we've said multiple times, it's a majority rule situation. He gets the attempt. We'll see what he goes for on the third now. So John Engelbertson up now for 95 kilos. As we come back to the top of the order for this third and final round of bench presses from today's meet. Logs out the lift. Let's see what the referees think. 3 white lights. If anything, that looked to me to be perhaps easier than his second. Perhaps a little bit more fired up. Positioning improved somewhat. Joel now, our bench-only competitor, going for his final lift of the day. 102.5 kilos, so around 225 pounds here. A hair over. Not quite there today, but Joel takes his best lift of 95 kilos for the day. Scott Lynn now coming up for the same weight, 102.5 kilo. Bit more fight on the way up there to lock out, but 3 white lights. He'll move on to deadlift now. Adam Olsen is coming back for another fight with 107.5 kilos. Bar has been loaded for Adam. Looks cleaner. We'll see what the referees think. Yep, 3 white lights for Adam. Congratulations to him. Kyle now taking a hit of ammonia as he hypes himself up for a 110 kilo, 242 pound attempt. Not quite there today, but he takes every kilo that he can with that 107.5 kilo previously, that 2.5 kilo below. Chris now coming out for his third and final bench of 115 kilos. Chris handled by Leah Goldring, who's an elite level lifter herself. One of the best 52 kilo lifters in Powerlifting America. Both have driven up from Philly for this meet. Very comfortable 115 for Chris there. I think he probably had quite a bit more there, actually. Joseph now preparing for 122.5 kilos. Logs out the lift. Let's see what the referees say. Just waiting on those lights there. Unfortunately, like, his hips did rise, so he won't make that attempt. It's important that the head, shoulders, and hips stay in contact with the bench throughout the movement, from start to rack, between those first and last commands. Bryant Smith now coming out for 127.5 kilos for his final attempt, having another stab at this. Drops the bar back down to his chest, logs it out. Did he wait for the rack command? I don't think he did, and unfortunately doesn't get the lift. One white light. Quentin now will come back for the same weight, 127.5 kilos. Been making some good attempts so far today. Comfortable. Gets the lift. Looks like a good selection there. Working his way off the bench now, and he can go prepare himself for the deadlift. Sean McClory will be up next. You can see him chalking there at the bowl. For that firm grip on the bar. He'll go for 140 kilos here, 308 pounds. Not quite there today, unfortunately. Now, Justin Nutt will be going for an attempt 2.5 kilos heavier. Moving up 5 kilos from his previous attempt. 142.5, which is 314 pounds, thereabouts. Taking a bigger hit of ammonia there. This will be a big lift for Justin. Justin locks out that attempt. He gets 3 white lights. He's 6 for 6 now going into the deadlift. Some nice momentum built there. Keith Jenkins will follow with 165 kilos. Justin looking happy about that successful lift. Keith's been making even 10 kilo jumps from first to second, now to third. Some fight here. Can he work through? Looks like he's locking it out. 2 white lights. Successful attempt for Keith there. Now Ryan with what I believe will be our final bench press of the meet. 177.5 kilos, a 2.5 kilo increase. Some difficulty with the first, came back on the second. What can he do with this 177.5 kilos on the bar? Around 390 pounds, I believe. Locks it out. We'll see what the referees think. Unfortunately, some downward motion there on the way up. Won't count as a competition lift, but a pretty impressive feat of strength nonetheless. So now we've wrapped up the bench press attempts. Again, everyone's still on the board. We love to see that. And we're moving back on to deadlift soon. We'll be back in 10 minutes. We look forward to seeing you then as the bars start to hit the ground. And we're back for the final discipline for today's meet, the deadlift at Powerlifting America Scary Strong 2. We're starting off with Renee. There are no start commands on the deadlift. There's no elected position or proper position that one has to be in before commencing the lift. All the lifters will have to pay attention for is the down signal from the chief referee. Renee electing to use conventional stance here for her 115 kilo attempt. That's a good lift, 3 white lights. Christy now will follow up with the same weight, 115 kilos. Christy electing for the sumo position. So you'll see the difference here is that Christy's hands are going to go on the inside of her legs rather than on the outside. And again, a good lift. Both lifters have now made a total with a successful squat, bench, and deadlift. Alexis now will come out for 120 kilos or 264 pounds. Also electing that sumo stance with the feet turned out as well here. Sumo can be a little less taxing on the lower back for most lifters. A little bit more leg driven. And that's a successful attempt for Alexis there. Cheryl now with 122.5 kilos. Deadlift is one of Cheryl's stronger events. As we discussed earlier, on the deadlift you are required to wear long socks up to just under the kneecap here. Cheryl wedges in for this attempt. Locks it out. 3 white lights. And a wave to the crowd. Let's have another look at that one. Next up we'll have Astrid with 127.5 kilos. As the lifters get those, the platform crew rather than the lifters rather, we're not lifting our own weights here. As they get those 2 pairs of reds on the bar. Some change plates there. That looks like a misload to me. They're getting that black plate off. It should be a silver 1.25. They correct the issue. Spotted by the referees, it looks like. And we'll be ready for Astrid. We've got a few sets of checks and balances here. The spotters will be able to see what plates to put on via the screen, and then the chief referees can also look. All the referees can look to see if the correct load is on the bar, and also often a coach or handler will also check. Very comfortable attempt for Astrid there. 3 white lights. Michelle will be coming up next for her 130 kilo opener. I believe that's 286 pounds. And then we see that conventional style again with the hands outside the legs. Good lift for Michelle. Cashla now coming up for 145 kilos. So over 315 pounds for her opener. Bit of an effort for Kashla there. 3 white lights. Next up, we'll have Jessica with 150 kilos, or around 330 pounds. Plenty of talcum or baby powder applied to the legs here. You'll see 2 white powders are used. Talcum powder on the legs to reduce friction and drag, and chalk on the hands to apply friction to the bar to improve grip. Successful lift for Jessica there. 2 very different substances, one to reduce friction, one to increase it. You don't want to mix them up. Charles will be going for 160 kilos, or 350 pounds. Not a surprise to me that relatively his deadlift attempt is heavier than his bench. Long-limbed lifter, should be good for reducing range of motion on the deadlift, but increases it and increases the amount of work done for the bench. Little head comfortable attempt there, 3 white lights. Weight's getting up to such a degree that the cameras are going to start shaking a little. Teresa now with 165 kilos. Her coach Meg Scanlon yelling words of encouragement, filming this lift from the side. Meg Scanlon's our meet director for today. Also coaches many of these athletes. A very smooth 165 kilo pull. Let's see what the referees think. 3 white lights. Teresa's on the board. Now Leslie's coming out for the same weight. Obviously no uprights or safety heights to change for the deadlift, so the lift can progress quite quickly. A little less rest time for some of the lifters. Successful lift for Leslie there. Hendrik now opening up at 220 kilos, or 484 pounds. And a very convincing opener there for Hendrik. 3 white lights. Noah right now is going to come up with 230 kilos for his first attempt. First lifter to go over 500 pounds on the deadlift. Noah electing to use a sumo stance here. Looks like Noah will be using a hook grip with both hands over the bar on the same side. Many of the lifters you're seeing are using a mixed grip with one hand over and one hand under. Successful lift and 3 white lights for Noah. Back to the top of the order now for Renee, jumping 7.5 kilos to 122.5. So the bar is now ready for Renee. Successful second for Renee there. Christy now making her way up for her second attempt of 122.5. And again, a very speedy attempt there. 3 white lights for Christy. Alexis up next with 127.5 kilo. Bar is loaded for Alexis now. Successful lift there. Cheryl electing to jump by 10 kilos from her first. She'll be taking an attempt with 132.5 kilos shortly. Grinds out and finishes that lockout for a successful lift. Tons of energy there to complete that one. Astrid will now follow with 135 kilos. Comfortable lift there. Michelle coming up now for 140 kilos or 308 pounds. And a comfortable lift for Michelle there. Kashla now will be moving up for 150 kilos, 330 pounds. A 5 kilo jump. A lot of squeeze, a lot of fight, but just a bit too much to get that one up. Took some effort to break off the floor there. Now Jessica coming up for 155 kilos. Completes lockout. What do the referees think? 3 white lights. Now Charles elects to increase by 5 kilos to 165 himself. Bar is loaded for Charles. This is at least 2.8 times Charles's body weight. Approaching that 3 times body weight deadlift. Looks strong. Leslie now for 175 kilos. And a successful lift for Leslie there. Teresa Spencer up now with 177.5. Looking plenty amped up for this second attempt deadlift. Given there's no start command, it's just one of those lifts where you can just sort of run up there and attack the weight. Teresa does so successfully. 2 white lights. Hendrick now going for 235 kilos, blowing past that 500-pound mark. Be interesting to see where he ends up. Potentially going for as much as 250 or 550 pounds on the third. If this is successful and looks good, be a conversation for him and his handler. The first moved well. Bit of a fight, but smooth. No sticking point per se. And he gets 3 white lights. Let's have a look at that again from another angle. Could be some more there. Now we'll see Noah Wright, the final of this round of deadlifts with 245 kilos. As we move on to, after this, the third attempts for Flight A. Around the 540 mark here in pounds. It looks like a good attempt. Again, the cameras are shaking. We'll see that happen again here from this replay. Yep. Renee now coming around for her final lift of the meet. And this is where, if you've got any energy spare, you may as well use it all here. This will be your final lift of the 9. And after this, you get a well-earned rest. So for this 130 kilo attempt, I believe that's 286 pounds. Here comes Renee. Closing out her meet. Looks strong. Locks it out. Three-way lights. Great end to the meet for Renee there. Christy now with 132.5. Looks like a very strong attempt for a third deadlift. Incredibly fast. Could almost have looked like an opener, that. Cheryl now for another fight. Going up 5 kilos. Cheryl seems to have to put more work into the lockout. Very fast off the floor. We'll see her work again to lock this pull. Lots of local support here for Cheryl. Crowd is incredibly supportive for her. She pulls through this lockout, locking out the bar. And does so. Referees agree. 3 white lights and she celebrates. Let's see if we can catch any of that on the replay. There's that grind. Really fights. Really gutsy lifter. Alexis now, 137.5 kilos also. Little scream as she approaches the bar. Getting out up. Not quite today, unfortunately. Was a big attempt. 10 kilo jump after a 7.5 kilo increase. Just not quite there today. Astrid now doing something similar. A 10 kilo jump after a 7.5 kilo jump, if my mental math is correct. Taking her to 145 kilo. So over 115 pounds. She's ready for it. And smokes it. 3-way lights. Cashlow now coming back for 150 kilos again. If you aren't successful on the lift, you do have the option to increase the weight or to stay at the same weight. She's opted to stay at the same weight here. Night and day difference from the second attempt, and that's a successful lift. That was completely different. Michelle now. There's a trend happening here of larger increases from second to third than from first to second. Jumping 10 kilos, then 12.5 now to 152.5. Looks strong. And a successful attempt. Now Jessica coming up for 162.5 kilos herself. Little fist bump of support from her handler. Fighting through. The referees think that one's good. 3 white lights. Great way to finish the meet for Jessica there. Now Charles for his final attempt at the meet. 170 kilos on the bar. If this weren't a competition setting and we didn't have the 5 kilo competition collars, 2.5 kilos each, this would be 3 red plates, 3 of those pairs of 25 kilo discs. So a milestone lift here. Looking at the breakdown of Charles's lifts, you've got to think he's somewhat of a deadlift specialist here. This is his lift. He's getting excited for it. He wants the crowd to get amped up for him as well. The first 2 lifts moved well. Let's see him attack this one. Cheers. Let's go to the audience. Successful lift. Should say he was happy about that one. Now Teresa with 185 kilos, north of that 400-pound mark, around 405, I believe. It's been a great meet for Teresa. I believe there are 4 women in the 84-plus division in the open category today. Teresa currently in first and projected to remain there. This is really just icing on the cake. Big pull. Some work at the lockout here. Referees give her 3 white lights. Fantastic meet for Teresa. Leslie will now come out for the same weight. Grinding through. Not quite there today, but a strong effort. Hendrick now will come out for 242.5 kilos. As the spotters and loaders get that bar ready. For some of our final deadlifts of Flight A. You can see the spotters and loaders cleaning off some of the excess chalk there. $235 was a fight, but it moved. It didn't really stick at any point. 7.5 kilos more here, this 242.5 attempt. Fighting through. Holding on. Grip holding well. Hands look tight. At the last moment there, the last half an inch. Right hand opened up. Lost the pull, but a really strong fight there. Clearly a lot of heart. I would say the right attempt selection in the end, to be honest. It was a very good chance of that being successful. Noah right now for our final deadlift of Flight A. Final lift of that flight for today. Noah's had a good meet so far. Currently 8 for 8 on attempts made. This will be his 9th attempt. Can he go 9 for 9? Shaking. Pulling through. What did the referees say? 2 white lights. A successful attempt. Shaky on squat also. Obviously something he has to control and sort of fight through. Some lifters just are naturally more shaky. Celebrates there. Right, on to flight B for the final deadlifts of the day. Kicking off with his opener. John will be hitting 152.5 kilos if successful. John has gone with perfect attempts through squat and bench, making every single one. And 3 white lights for John there. He's on the board. Kyle Orban next, 175 kilos. And a nice lift for Kyle to start off with. 3 white lights. And he's happy about it. Scott Lynn now coming out with 182.5 kilos, over 400 pounds for this opener. Scott, another of our lifters, having a great day so far. All squat and bench attempts made. And that deadlift attempt is good as well. Very convincing lockout there. Brian Smith now, a little heavier, 185 kilos, 407 pounds. Explosive opener, plenty of room to move up. We'll now have several lifters follow with the same weight. Keith Jenkins, Adam Olson, Christopher Tufts, Quentin Dooley. For some reason, 185 kilos is particularly popular today. But it's a pretty standard milestone lift, right? It's just above that 405-pound mark that many people will hit in the gym with regularity, as it's an easy number to load, and it's that significant 4 pairs of 45-pound plates. Keith also successful. Let's see that run continue through all these 5 lifters. It'll move quickly as the weight's the same. No uprights to change, no safeties to change. Adam now with a sumo stance. Pretty wide sumo here. Chris Tufts will be next. Nice opener for Chris there. 3 white lights. Quentin up next. Where so many lifters have chosen the same attempt, the order of lifting will be determined by their lot number. Something they receive before the meet begins. Let's see Quentin complete this for a 5 out of 5 perfect streak of 185 kilo attempts by these gentlemen. Looks like he does. Referees say yes. Now moving on to 202.5 kilos with Joseph Burke for his opening attempt. A clean lift for Joseph there with 3 white lights. Sean will now go for 220 or 484 pounds. Two more lifters will follow with their opening deadlift attempts. Should they all be successful, not a single lifter will have bombed out today. Bombing out is when you don't make a single squat, bench, or deadlift. Obviously, we're in the first attempt at deadlift for this Flight B, but everyone in Flight A made a total. We'd love to see the same happen in Flight B today. Looks strong from Sean there. 3 white lights. Ryan now for the penultimate deadlift opener of the competition. 227.5 kilos, just above the 500-pound mark. Bar is ready for Ryan here. Nice clean pull there. Now for the heaviest deadlift of the meet so far, and it is an opener. Justin Nutt will be opening well over 600 pounds here. The only attempt over 600 pounds so far, and it's his first attempt. Justin has historically pulled both conventional and sumo styles. For this meet, I believe he'll be pulling conventional. Again, as we've seen for every attempt, there's a hit of ammonia there. 285 kilos here. That was clean. Justin's last meet, he deadlifted 320 kilos or over 700 pounds, 705. He did that with this sumo style. I think he's looking to do something similar today, but conventional. Now back to the top of the order with John with 165 kilos. Bar is loaded for John here with 165 kilo. So good lift for John there. We'll load the bar to 180 kilos, 396 pounds for Kyle next. This would pull Kyle from second position into first in the 74 kilo sub-junior category. And he's successful, so moves into first now. Adam Olsen, the other 74 kilo sub-junior lifter, will be looking to take that position back with this pull. 190 kilos, around 420 pounds, I believe, just under perhaps. Interesting to see this trading of places as we come into these final pulls. We'll see who can come out on top on these teenage 74 kilo lifters. Having the stronger deadlift does give Adam that advantage of being able to pull last and sort of determine the outcome potentially. A successful lift, it looks like. Yep, 3 white lights. See if we catch any of that on the replay. Yep, there we go. Brian Smith now coming up for 195 kilos. Snappy lift there. Added 10 kilos from first to second. I think he could do the same again. Keith Jenkins coming up now. Same progression it looks like. 195 kilos for Keith. We had those 5 lifters before, all hitting 185 kilos. The majority of them, 4 of them, going for 195 also. Successful for Keith. That'll mean that this flight moves particularly quickly as there's no change of weight to the bar. Just making sure those collars are on there nice and tight for each lifter. Chris now coming out for 195 kilos also. He's successful with that weight. Scott Lynn will now look to take the same. Scott opened up a little later than that pack at 182.5, 2.5 lower. Will now make a more sizable jump as he moves to 195 kilos. Nicely done by Scott there. Quentin will follow with 197.5. Looking to get himself amped up here for this attempt. Gets a fist bump. Nice attempt from Quentin there. Still really fast. Plenty of room to keep progressing, it looks like. Joseph Burke will now come out for 215 kilos. Oh, nice pull for Joseph there. Sean's second attempt, 230 kilos, will push him above that 500-pound mark. And also for Sean in the 83 kilo open division, will move him from second place into first. Our spotters and loaders just getting that bar ready for him there. There are no other lifters in the 83 kilo division to follow. The other 83 kilo open lifter was in the first flight, so if successful, Sean will lock this in for the day. And he has. Ryan now coming out to pull 247.5 kilos. Takes a hit of ammonia here. Wincing a little. It does feel like a slap in the face, a particularly strong one. And it'll wake you up. Bar's loaded for him now. Still fast, looks convincing. And 3 white lights it was. Now, Justin Nutt coming out for 302.5 kilos. If you know, you know. This is 666 in pounds. It's a pretty good number for the theme of the meet, for Scary Strong 2. That number of the devil here as things get a little spooky. Justin takes a whiff of ammonia there to come out for this lift. Getting cheered on there by Meg Scallon, our meet director. Pretty sure I can smell that ammonia all the way back from the commentary booth. Firing that up there. And 3 white lights. But that's not what he came here for. He's coming here for more. We'll see him back on his third attempt and see what he loads. Now, John, for his final attempt of the meet, 172.5 kilos. If successful with this, he will have gone 9 for 9 on the day. A perfect day of attempts. I can see that Justin Nutt has entered 317.5 kilos for his final attempt, or 700 pounds. John up now for this 172.5 kilo attempt. Looking strong. And 3 white lights, he goes 9 for 9 on the day. And gets that double high five. A little celebration there. Kyle now. 187.5 kilos. Well north of that 400-pound mark, into around the sort of 410 range. He's getting amped up. Waiting for the spotters and loaders to finish cleaning that bar and preparing it for him. And he's released. He wants some energy from the crowd here. Obviously a meaningful lift for him as he pulls to move back from second place into first in this sub-junior battle we've got going on in the 74 kilo division. He's pulling hard here. Locks it out. And he's successful. Oh, he's happy. Adam now to respond. A 7.5 kilo increase for Adam. Up to 197.5 kilos. This again would move him back into first place as a 74 kilo sub-junior. This is for all the marbles. The bar side is some final chalk there for Adam. He's excited. Rips it off the floor. Can he lock it out? A cheer. Referees say. Unfortunately, it looked like the bar may have been supported by his thighs there. We'll see on this replay. Yeah, just a touch there. Unfortunately, that will leave Adam in second. But, you know, a great handshake there from the two competitors. Christopher Tufts now with 202.5 kilos for his final attempt of the day. He will go 9 for 9 if successful here. Chris, you've been sandbagging. Definitely more should he choose to do another powerlifting meet on the table available to him. But 9 for 9 for the day. Keith Jenkins now will go for 205 kilos. A strong pull from Keith there. 3 white lights to close out his day. Scott Lynn now also coming out for 205 kilos. You can see Quentin there waving away what I presume is some ammonia smell. There'll be quite a bit of it back there by now. Talcum powder, chalk, ammonia. Probably some smell of some icy hot as well, some Tiger Balm. All those kind of liniments. Could give you some atmosphere there. Scott fires up 205. Also finishing, I believe, 9 for 9 for the day. A successful lift for him. As the spotters and loaders get the bar prepared, Quentin will be coming out for 207.5 kilos. He locks out. Triumphant with it. 3 white lights. Quentin has a 9 for 9 day on that finisher. Bryant Smith now with 210. I want to say that's 462 pounds. Really been testing the mental math today. Looks like a convincing pull. Do the referees agree? They do. 3 white lights for this effort. Now we have Joseph Burke with 227.5 kilos, ending off his attempts for the day with a 500-pound attempt on deadlift. It's a big milestone. It's a fight, but he locks it out. Referees say 3 white lights. Nice day of lifting for Joseph there. Sean, you see on the left of the screen there, the chalk bowl, will be coming out for 240 kilos in a moment. One of our final deadlifts of the meet. And from the 83 kilo class, one of our middleweight classes. The only two heavier pull attempts to happen after will both be from 120 kilo lifters. So up to around 80 pounds heavier. So it's impressive that Sean is pulling at this point in the meet here. And a successful attempt for Sean. Now Ryan Musto's final lift of the day. $267.5 kilos, which is around 590 pounds here. I think he's made that one look easy. Referee say 3 white lights. Great finish of the day. Went 2 for 3 on squat, I believe, 1 for 3 on bench, but then went 3 for 3 on deadlift. Great way to finish it off. And now we're seeing some extra plates added. This is going to be 700 pounds, 317.5 kilos for Justin Nutt, who closes out our meet. This is the final lift of the squat, bench, and deadlift powerlifting competition. Powerlifting America's Scary Strong 2. Look for Justin to get all kinds of fired up here. This is his lift. He's hit 700 pounds before on the sumo deadlift. Now he wants to do it conventional. The crowd's behind him. The NC's behind him. You can see a number of cameras coming out here. It's a big lift. Can he make it? Also for a PR total for Justin here as well. Come on. No, his grip just giving a little on that left hand there. Soften up. Wasn't quite able to make the lockout. But he thanks the referees. A valiant effort there. About as close as you can get without making the lift. He'll be back for that one. Some amazing lifting today. Some amazing refereeing and volunteering by our spotters and loaders, our scoring table, our referees. It's been a fantastic meet here at Powerlifting America's Scary Strong 2. I hope that we'll be back next year. And we appreciate you all watching. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy Halloween. And hopefully we'll see you back soon. Thanks for following along.